So recently, IGN got a hands-on with Silent Hill. I'm super excited about this, man. This is gonna go so hard, dude.
As someone who loved Bloober Team's
Absolute
2024
banger
remake
incoming.
of Silent Hill 2, I'm happy to report that while being developed by an entirely different developer, Silent Hill F boasts that same level of quality and polish.
Let's go. I'm so happy to hear it, dude.
From story to world building, from graphics to combat and exploration, Taiwan-based developer
Absolute
Neobards
eeriness. Look at this, how you enter in. It's so cool looking. Very atmospheric. Very creepy, very under your skin,
created an
man.
experience that meets the high bar set by the Polish developer,
And I really
albeit
like
in a drastically different setting.
the change in area just looks
As I
so
started
cool.
walking the dense yet deserted streets of Ebiskałka, it was immediately apparent just how detailed and well realized this fictional remote town in the mountains.
You know, I haven't played any of the Silent Hills except for Silent Hill 2, the new one. But I knew about them and I watched some of the cutscenes growing up. So seeing this is really cool. They have a big resurgence because I love horror. And seeing them just kind of like really push the envelope, come back as strong as they had. Konami is in a new age, dude.
Of rural
100%.
Japan in the 60s is. With an immersive over-the-shoulder view and no
Let's
UI
go,
on
bro.
screen during exploration, Silent Hill F is a game that tells a convincing story through its visuals. Ebiskałka is undoubtedly one of the most impressive contemporary Japanese townscapes I've ever seen in a video game.
Ah.
And that comes from someone who has lived in Japan for the majority of his life
That's
and loves
crazy.
games like Shenmue, Persona, and Ghostwire Tokyo. One of the few minor issues I had with the Silent Hill 2 remake was that the majority of its playtime is spent inside buildings and facilities. While these functioned
fair.
as well-designed dungeons packed with horrifying enemies to fight and intricate puzzles to solve, the increase in volume compared to the 2001 original made it feel like exploration of the actual town of Silent Hill was limited. And so I was pleasantly surprised that the vast majority of my playtime with Silent Hill F was spent exploring Ebiskałka, which oozes with atmosphere.
Yeah, definitely. So is there going to be a lot of optional things to do? How explore while we're talking? Is there reasons to explore? I hope he gets into that.
Files and other documents scattered throughout the town add context to Ebiskałka, which flourished as a mine town during its heyday. Now it has become a largely forgotten village, and its people are stuck in old ways, such as favoring traditional healthcare methods.
I love the abandoned city, and it's so well done. It is very beautifully escaped. So yeah, it's really cool.
The modern medical science, and being overly devout to the Shinto deity Inai.
Very gray and like downpour. You know what I'm saying?
The context of Ebiskałka and its people immediately feel like they are an integral part of Silent Hill F's cohesive
I don't know if
story,
that's the right word, but you know, we'll
which
go
made
with that.
me eager to go off the beaten path and obtain every hidden file. The game starts after protagonist Hinako, a female high school student, runs away from home after being scolded by her drunk father. Walking the empty streets of Ebiskałka, heading to the local candy store to meet up with Hinako's fellow high school friends, feels like an authored walking simulator reminiscent of games like Everybody's Gone to the Rapture and The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. Of course, it doesn't take long until Hinako and her friends discover something is wrong in town, and before you know it, Hinako is holding an iron pipe in her hands, an iconic weapon of the series. Ebiskałka then gradually proves to be not just suited for a captivated walking
So
simulator.
this I did see on Twitter. The dodge and attack mechanics very reminiscent of Souls likes, of nowadays I should say. It's kind of like the action RPG thing that people always run to. I'm not against it, but as long as they even it out to where you're not too strong and it takes away from the horror. Although, if they want to go a different route and make it, a little bit more action-based, I'm not super opposed to that, as long as there's very heavy emphasis on the horror.
Experience, but also the perfect setting for a horror game, as its narrow alleys and staircases.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. Like, look, the red pictures. It's like this very bright contrast to the setting. It's very artistically done. Yeah, it's really cool.
are ideal to hide enemies behind corners, while also functioning as a maze for the player to get lost in. In some instances, doors left ajar and open windows invite Hinako inside traditional tatami-floored houses, where she will have to solve simple puzzles in order to make her way through to the next area. These puzzles play out in an unconventional way. One puzzle, for example, had me obtain keys to a locked door, but there was nothing noteworthy inside. Then, as I went back to the corridor, another door suddenly swung open, which gave me the chills.
Like that.
Silent Hill
Hell
F's
yeah.
scenario writer, Yukishi07, sees Japanese horror as a subgenre that doesn't so much rely on threats to the protagonist's life, but rather makes you feel uncomfortable by creating situations that feel off.
Interesting. So is that the
When you think
emphasis
about
of
it,
Japanese horror? That's interesting. I like that. It's just a very uneasy feeling the entire time, which is cool. So if they're not going to cut, I guess we'll see if how the game.
Silent Hill is a series known for just that. While there isn't a lack of life-threatening encounters, some of this series' most uncomfortable moments are in conversations with its outright weird characters. In Silent Hill F, Hinako and her friends are trying to find a way to escape the haunted town of Ebisugaoka. Interactions with these friends seem normal at first, but then suddenly they say something or do something that catches you off guard.
It's a little weird, a little off, right?
Also, in typical Silent Hill fashion, puzzles often reveal something about Hinako herself or the world she inhabits. A puzzle on a misty rice field has you examine scarecrows in order to learn the direction you should be heading, which is connected to a childhood trauma of Hinako getting lost and being afraid of the scarecrows.
The beautiful horror, man. I can't get over it. Every set seems like almost like a fucking art piece. Really well done. I love it. It's like this shift into like this violent horror, and like not like violent as in like just the extreme shift into this beautiful, like eerie, picturesque, like red flower petal shit everywhere. It just looks absolutely amazing. Really love that. I really love that idea of it. Very unique. Very deserves its props, and I definitely could see the art design of like the horrific beauty, you know, in it.
During my playthrough, puzzles never felt too difficult. Hints
Very
provided
beautiful.
by files you obtain never make the solution too obvious, while still giving the player an idea.
Art design for me, it's up there. It's gotta be 10 out of 10 to some degree already. But we'll see. Just from what I've seen, because I love the concept. I shouldn't say 10 out of 10, kind of extreme, but I love the concept. Absolutely adore it. So I really hope it's throughout the entire game. I really hope that's explored.
Idea of what they have to do. Silent Hill F has difficulty settings for both
dude.
its combat and puzzles.
That was so sick, dude. You're frozen there checking this thing out, and then it immediately in gameplay attacks you. Not a cutscene. Bam, it just swipes at you.
And while Konami advised me to play on story mode for both, I stubbornly chose normal mode as I wanted to take on a challenge. While the difficulty of the puzzles never overwhelmed me, combat proved to be a bit more.
Look at this. The way she moves and all like crooked and jagged, bro. Very intimidating. Her legs,
Demanding.
dude, it's so cool.
Silent Hill F's combat relies entirely on melee attacks. Hinako can obtain all sorts of weapons ranging from iron pipes to kitchen knives and baseball bats, but no guns come into play. With some exceptions, these weapons are not obtained through story beats, but are scattered throughout Silent Hill F's world like other resources, and Hinako...
I know this, to be fair, that I know this is gonna piss off a lot of actual super hardcore Silent Hill fans, because it's such a huge jumps in the series. I'm sure it will. But, you know, as a guy who just came into the second one actually playing it and beat it, super fun game. I say give them a chance. I do think they probably took a lot of oversight. Probably a lot of love to the series. You know, give it a chance.
can carry up to 3 weapons at a time. As you wield iron
Somebody told me it reminds me of a Fatal Frame. I never played Fatal Frame. Except I know it's like a Japanese horror game. Very beloved. And if you think the same thing, please comment below, because I am curious about
pipes
that.
and
I
stab
might
at
check the
enemies
game out if enough people say I should try it out.
with knives, you will notice that the game has weapon durability.
A big problem I had, though, with 2 was the enemy variety. I think it was a fun game. I think it was pretty good. It did have some issues, but the enemy variety was one of the big ones. Not enough different ones for my taste, personally. I felt it was very limited, so I hope that we explore a lot of creepy, interesting, unique, well thought out, monsters in this one to have a good amount of variety to them in some way.
It is a nice touch that weapons that are about to break actually change in appearance, so expect to be holding a bent pipe or a broken bat. This also functions as a hint to the player, which Hinako will acknowledge by mentioning that she should fix it. Weapons can be fixed by using a repair kit, but these are so scarce that on many occasions you will have to say goodbye to your new favourite weapon.
Aww.
While weapon durability is often regarded as a burden in games, it works here, as finding a new weapon and repair kits quickly becomes an integral part of the resource management that the survival horror genre is known for, especially since you won't be having to look for ammo this time around. A clever system allows you to turn in your resources for an in-game currency at save points, which can...
And I like this because it was a scarecrow. There's like scarecrows throughout the field, so you don't ever know if one of them is gonna bam start attacking you. I get that uneasy feeling already. I could see the idea. I see the vision. I see the vision.
Or obtain new amulets that can be equipped to give you certain buffs. That means that if you are careful and don't waste your resources, leftovers can be turned into something useful, which feels like a great reward to a well-planned expedition. Combat itself has a similar feel to Silent Hill 2's close-range combat. You can dodge enemy attacks with the DualSense's circle button, while you can activate light and heavy attacks with R1 and R2 respectively. Your limited reach and lengthy attack motions give a realistic, weighty feel to combat. Heavy attacks especially are slow and need to be timed well.
Yeah, I don't see the... I saw some complaints about the take into, the Souls-like series, but it still feels very horror based because it's not like you're hacking and slashing. This is very slow. You have to plan it out. There's a lot of weight to it. The encounter is a lot more like I don't know, it's a lot more intimidating because you're just so slow and sluggish, and the way the monsters can fight. So it's less like a battle and more like a fight for your life, I guess, to some degree, right?
Contributing to the feeling that Hinako is just a teenager with limited strength. What sets Silent Hill F's combat apart from Silent Hill 2's more limited melee combat is the implementation of timed dodges and counterattacks. The latter in particular deals a lot of damage.
At least that's what I hope. I mean, I hope it's not like you just going... just going crazy on these things, hacking, slashing, pulling out some weapon arts.
It's key in battle. Enemies briefly show a sign when a counterattack can be utilized, but unless you have trained your reflex skills by playing games of the likes of Sekiro, you will likely have a hard time reacting. That's where the focus mode comes in, which can be triggered by holding L2. Sadly, we don't have any footage of it, but when in focus mode, enemy signs for counterattacks appear for longer, while also charging up a power attack that staggers an enemy. That means you might head into focus mode with the intention of going for a counterattack, but find yourself switching to a power attack when it charges before the enemy shows an opening. Focus mode is tied to Hinako's mental energy gauge, which exists separately from her stamina and health bar. Interestingly, the upper limit of her mental energy decreases.
I always like those enemies. I've been playing Wu Chang, and they have also another enemy of a woman with like the butcher knife. I don't know if it's a very common. I don't know if that's a common thing in Japanese horrors. The women long hair butcher knife. It's very skinny. Scraggly, surprises you, starts like going nuts on you.
When enemies do something that scares her, or when she is frightened by a certain event, connecting the gameplay to the story and Hinako's mental state. Luckily, there are items that can recover the upper limit of your mental energy gauge, but Hinako's stamina is limited too. When she runs out of stamina and mental energy, she can become so frightened and tired that she won't even be able to move for a while. Managing her energy resources, therefore, is key to survival. Fighting one regular enemy is fairly manageable, but when confronted by multiple enemies, running away often felt like the best option, especially since enemies don't give experience points or drop resources. Combat was fun enough that I found myself actively engaging in combat even if there wasn't a real benefit to it, beyond being able to explore the environment more freely. While keeping combat engaging and complex, Silent Hill F does a great job in making the player feel weak. The game cleverly incorporates this by...
That's what I'm saying. You want to feel like you're on the back foot the entire time. Not that it's like a fight somewhat to your life. Like you're trying to survive this encounter, and it can still be engaging.
Having what seems to be a boss battle at first actually play out as a sequence in which the player has to find an escape route. Another iconic element to the series is the existence of an alternate world, which is present in Silent Hill F as well. Hinako is occasionally transported to a different dimension that shows a more traditional Japan, where a mysterious masked figure guides her through the grounds of various shrines. Here, Hinako obtains traditional Japanese weapons such as the naginata, a pole weapon with a curved blade on the end, similar to a glaive or halberd that is known to be mostly used by women. Weapons that Hinako finds in this alternate world don't break.
Women use the halberds? I guess to keep distance to some degree. Poke poke,
But Hinako won't be able to carry them over to Ebisugaoka. It was in this realm that I encountered the main boss of my playtime, which proved much more difficult than I had anticipated. Even with my full understanding of the combat mechanics and systems, its long reach, hard to predict attack patterns, and multiple stages required significant trial and error. The boss took me nearly an hour to beat, but gradually learning how to take on the boss was a welcome challenge that never felt unfair. For reference, my colleague was playing on story mode and defeated the boss on his second try, but an acquaintance from another media outlet who was also playing on story mode didn't manage to defeat the boss at all and ran out of time. While he didn't specifically mention the Souls-like genre, series producer Motoi Okamoto says that Silent Hill F's combat was inspired by the current popularity of more difficult action games. With multiple difficulty settings, Silent Hill F is by no means a Souls-like, but its boss design shares a similar learning curve that ultimately results in a great...
Yeah, I like this take. Like, survival Souls-like. I guess survival horror Souls-like. I like that. I think it's cool.
...feeling of satisfaction when you beat it.
Give it a chance.
The last part of my demo
If you're
took
long
place
term,
inside
this is, you know, fan of the series. Completely different area. I think as a horror game, it's going to do very
school,
well.
which was essentially a dungeon similar to Silent Hill 2's aforementioned apartment buildings, hospitals, museums, and hotels. Upon entering the school,
I always like this lighting effect with the dust particles in. I always thought it looked really cool as shot.
Hinako obtains a map of the building, which the player will have to use to navigate their way through. Luckily, Hinako is just as diligent a note-taking
I wonder if there's another
enthusiast
reason to do
as
that.
Silent Hill 2's James, so whenever you learn that a door is locked or that there is a passage somewhere, it will be noted for you on the map. Inside the school, I had to solve a multitude of puzzles in order to find keys to reach different classrooms and floors while fighting and running away from enemies along the way. According to Okamoto, the average playtime for Silent Hill F will be about 12 or 13 hours, which should indicate that I've
Pretty
played
short.
through roughly 1/3 of the game. While I don't know how things will go from here, so far the game's balance between town exploration and interior facilities feels like an improvement over the Silent Hill 2 remake. While the first 5 hours of the game felt like they were structured linearly, Silent Hill F has multiple endings, like many other games in the series, including the famous UFO ending. My time with Silent Hill F was promising to say the least. Its world building and story...
I personally, and this is gonna be, I would have preferred like a 16-hour experience, personally, like 15, 16 hours. And then I could be like, oh, that's very decent, it's very chunky. 12 hours, I think he said, little short, but I think it's still gonna be, it looks very well crafted, so. Hey.
Story had me so intrigued that I still think back on my brief visit to Ebisugaoka almost a week later. Ebisugaoka just feels like the perfect fit for a psychological horror narrative, and all of Silent Hill F's systems and mechanics complement the setting. Series composer Akira Yamaoka's soundtrack also does a stellar job in making the player feel uncomfortable.
It's kind of nice, you can just play this on a weekend, you know. You can start in the morning or night, you know, obviously. You get really in the atmosphere, turn off all the lights, put on the headphones, have nightmares the rest of the night.
Wow.
God, I love the way
Silent Hill
they
F
move.
seems to be a horror game that gets everything right. If, like me, the Silent Hill 2 remake was one of your favorite games of 2024, Silent Hill F has the potential to become a serious Game of the Year contender when it releases for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC on September 25th.
Yeah, even these cutscenes, man, it just seems like how look at the dirty walls and everything.
おやすみ、ひなこ。
For more scary stuff, keep
Everything
it
looks
locked
old and
on IGN.
this is gonna be great. Let's go, baby. Very Japanese horror. Very scary
で
stuff.
もさ、
I might have nightmares just
シン
watching
君
this.
もああいうの好きでしょ。
No, but it looks but if you're a fan of the series, tell me what you think. I'm sure that people are gonna have completely different outlooks on it, especially if you're a Silent Hill fan. I think most people are gonna be pretty happy, pretty well receptive of this because it looks pretty decent. You know, I haven't seen a lot of complaints. The most I've seen was like, oh, the combat's, you know, very Souls-like. But in this instance, I think it's really well done. I love the Japanese horror. Absolutely excited for this. If you have any comments or anything you want to share below, please do so. I hope you guys have a good day. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me if there's anything if I missed it. Have a good one.